Is this the best EastEnders has ever been? The answer's no. The answer's simply no. It's definitely not the best it has ever been. But it's definitely a lot better than it has been in previous years. And I think that's why a lot of people have been praising Clenshaw. I feel like we've been pretty heavily praising Clenshaw and the additions he's made to the show and how he's managed to kind of change what EastEnders is, where, in previous eras we were still doing the crime and we were still doing all that. Now it's kind of more calmed down into being more of a family show. It's been more of a, they've been a whole lot less fucking. They've changed it from that crime show to now being more family based drama, which I think is what EastEnders needed after a decent chunk of years of being that constant, like, Phil Mitchell's a criminal, there's a murderer, fucking hell. Like, it's definitely been dialed back a lot more. What do you reckon, Drew? Do you think the show's great at the moment?
Again, I just, here comes the wrestling reference. It's like how after years of being stale and being run by someone who doesn't know how to book, and then you see a company being like, holy shit, you can actually book. Oh, we're under new management, that's why. We can actually book. It's the exact same how I describe EastEnders.
Change that word for right. That's pretty much, that's the option one. Change book for right, and then it makes more sense to a non-wrestling person.
Yeah, just change the word book to right. It's basically how I describe it, because you had years of shit, that fucking years of crap in the late 2010s. Yeah, fucking evil attitude. I know he's brought up, he's been dug out of the grave again. His hands slowly come off. He's lost about 3 fingers bringing them up every time. Yeah, and then you obviously had Gray Atkins, who was supposed to only be an abuser and turned out to be a killer who killed 3 people. He killed 3 people, including one of them, Tina. Ian Beale punched Tina, Ian Beale, woman abuser apparently. Ian Beale also poisoned Shan, or Shan also poisoned Ian. So it's just a weird time period. And then you also have fucking I Can Be Your Hero, Baby by Danny Dyer, fucking as Mick Carter jumping into the Times and saving people and then supposedly dying. It's just, when you're giving shit.
Yeah, like,
when you're giving shit for years and then someone actually gives you a good sandwich. Say you're getting like nothing but just lettuce sandwiches for years. Just lettuce sandwiches. No ham, no bacon, just lettuce.
No butter either. Just straight lettuce between 2 slices of bread, like, And, it wasn't all bad in that time period. I won't lie, I'll hijack this. But it's definitely been it's the best it's been in years, in my opinion. And I was saying since pretty much the first couple months of 2023 were a bit rough. We had some of the hang-ups of the previous era, but when it fully shifted over to Clenshaw, I'm pretty sure he came in this time period. We start to see some of the signs of the stuff that we didn't really like starting to phase out, like the Phil Mitchell Keeble stuff, and we got the weird introduction to Emma Harding as Lola. And okay, you started in like 2022. So, in my opinion, the first year was rough. The first year of Clenshaw was pretty fucking rough. And it was definitely, it wasn't a good time for the first year. Obviously, we had to finish up the Mick and Janine stuff. We had to get that stuff. But since basically, the angle as to when EastEnders started to get a lot better was when Mick left. Why people have kind of correctly attributed it to maybe we were just sick and we were sick of Mick Carter as a character, which isn't wrong. And because he was used a lot. And then gradually we got through the kind of remnants of the previous era, the Phil Mitchell Keeble stuff. We got through that. And then we quickly went to Lola's death, which made everybody look at the show and be like, you know what, this is actually doing good. They did Lola's death really well. Then they started to do a couple more storylines, like Amy's self-harming storyline, teenage, like, drama type deal. And I think, and then they slowly brought in, and then the addition of the Knights, this previous year, the return of Cindy and Ian. Then the whole build to the 6 stuff where they did the flash forward, which, had been seen before, but hadn't been teased as much as this one was, because, Hollyoaks did it and then it was revealed like 3 months later. EastEnders teased it and it was revealed that Christmas. And I will just say, in personal intrigue, EastEnders over the last year or so became my favourite soap. And that was something that hadn't been done in years, When I started rewatching soaps in 2018, I fully, 2018 wasn't in a good place either. But watched it a bit as a kid, picked up in 2018, and there were some months in there where I was fucking struggling to get through it. At the peak of the grey stuff, I'm like, oh fucking hell, just skip it. Fuck it, who cares? But having watched every single episode since at least last year, and for years at this point, I still strongly believe that it is the best it's been in a long time. Not ever been.
Just add on to this, for people who don't really know, I did start watching EastEnders when my nanny passed, obviously, in February 2022. I mainly wanted to tune in and see what happened to Guy Atkins, because, you're vaguely interested. You see all the kills he's done with Cut and Tina and the other lady, Chantal, and you're like, oh, what's he doing? And then obviously I watched the episode where he just gets fucking battered by Shirley, and then he somehow nearly kills Shirley, and then obviously Mick chasing him out the pub, and then obviously he's running up to he wants to commit suicide, and it's some scenes, and you can tell it was all right. It was certainly a teething stage, but I wouldn't watch it again. And then I fully started watching in December 2022, and because I got into it because of Dot's passing. I know some people go, that's not a great time to get into it. I know, but that's why at least has a soft spot for me.
They definitely made a very good way to, like, oh goodness.
It was a certainly good way to send her off. It just wasn't fantastic when you looked at it, because for years, I don't want to say she was bullied, but it was basically like, the ha old lady.
Yeah, basically we definitely don't need to fucking don't need to do this.
Yeah, Dot was just like
tangent again.
Dot was just like, guys, can you please give me a storyline? And they're like, fuck off, you old bitch. Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And I understand circumstances prevented that, but it was good after all. It could have been better.
The funeral was still very heartfelt and very nice. It's just beyond the point. You can kind of look at it and be like, yeah, but she could have probably died on screen though, couldn't she? They never allowed it, but yeah, carry on.
And then obviously coming back into in January 2023, reviewing it with Ash and watching it with Ash has really provoked my opinion on EastEnders. I follow EastEnders on the Watching Walford Instagram account. I follow the Seal account on the Instagram, on the Watching Walford account, and some EastEnders celebrities. And I'm just like intrigued whenever I see like, oh, what's happening next week on EastEnders? Kush back, what the fuck? Fat Boy's back, what the fuck? It's nice to see that it's in a good spot compared to 5 years ago. Like, because I'm gonna put it into a comparison. Would you and I know this might be a mild comparison, or this might be a hot take like spicy diarrhea, but would you rather Hayley Slater, who's crying all the time, with Alfie's ringtone going off every 5 minutes, or would you rather creepy, weird? He's not creepy, just weird. Reese Caldwell. Let's just put it out there. Would you rather a crying woman and then that fucking ringtone going off every 5 minutes, or just Reese is going to act socially awkward and he's kind of out there? Because I obviously know what I'm choosing, and that's why it's definitely been better in the past year. I can tell that there's passion in it, and it's not just, oh Jesus, oh you got a dartboard there, Mitch. I've got a fucking dartboard. 1, 2. Ben's getting a storyline. Oh, fair play.
Yeah, it's been a lot more. They've definitely spent a lot more time kind of piecing everything together. You can tell that there is a lot more love in the show. A lot of the exits that have been crafted has been these really interesting dynamic stories. There's been some storylines that kind of in other years would have been really hot garbage, but like the George stuff, where George discovers his dad killed his biological dad, and that whole family drama. Where we tackled a lot of stuff. We tackled like a bit of racism. We tackled just George's childhood. And for what in previous years probably would have just been like, George, I killed your dad, you insert racial slur. And then it'd be like, oh, wow, get him, George. You need to make sure he doesn't, you have to make sure he goes down for this. And George goes, yes, I will. Like, it feels like a lot of these storylines they've been allowed a lot more depth. I feel like we've seen a lot more of these shorter appearances by actors I think have really made up for the show, as I feel like the show feels a lot more interconnected currently. Denise is struggling, bring in Lucas. Chelsea's struggling, bring in Lucas. Fucking... Who else got brought back? Whitney's struggling, bring in Bianca. Like, it feels like the show's a lot more interconnected than it has been before. And I really... Like I said, it's the shift from that crime to the family drama, and it's a necessary one because, even in the previous times, it's like, Phil Mitchell's rival, Danny Hardcastle. It's like, who the fuck is that? Who the fuck cares about this guy? It's your mate, Jonah. Yeah, Jonah was here before. Great, who cares? Like, he wasn't that fucking important, was he? But I will just say, and it also it completely bucked the trend. For the longest time, I never expected EastEnders to become my favourite soap at all, because since 2020, I started watching Corrie, I started watching Hollyoaks, and then both of those went, fuck me, EastEnders in a terrible place, fuck this. These two are better, I love these two shows. And gradually, as Coronation Street's kind of tripped up with quality, it's not as, there's a lot of complaints about where it is currently, and Hollyoaks, which, I don't know, I still love, and it is actually in a good place right now. Despite Channel 4 trying to fucking murder it. I never expected to see the day where I'm actually, like, a proper fucking EastEnders fan. And, you can tell, because, if it wasn't in a good place, I doubt this would have lasted. I doubt this channel would still be here if EastEnders was just shit. Like, there had to be some buy-in to do it. I will just continue by saying, fucking, I will just say, I think that the Six storyline and that build up to Christmas, probably my favourite EastEnders Christmas of all time.
A fan of Christmas 2000 with the turkey in the fucking in the wheelbarrow.
No, I do love it, but the difference is it's not had that personal investment where I watched everything and I watched the whole build and I'm like, yes, But it's hands down my favourite Christmas episode of all time, and it does help that it's the first. It's I watched the last 5 or so, and none of them even come remotely close to my enjoyment of how nailed I believe it all was.
I do agree. Although again, watching the build of the Christmas 2022, that will always have a soft spot for me. Not because of nostalgia purposes in about 10 years' time when I'm listening for Mick Carter in 2022, but simply because we're reviewing it for the Christmas time period on Watching Walford and the fucking inside joke of the wee, that always gets a good chuckle out of me. I need to make it a gif, so when someone steers the conversation, I just do that gif where Ash just fucking and steering the conversation. But 2023 is definitely one of my favourites of all time. Nothing will come close though to Alfie Moon falling on the stairs, because unless there's something comedic happening, I cannot laugh. I need something to laugh at, if that makes sense. And nothing will come close to the "you slave her women" moment. When you metaphorically jump the shark, will I say? But yeah, Christmas 20, if we're just talking about Christmas 2023 is great. It's honestly great.
But let's see what some people say in these comments. We've waffled on for long enough. Someone says, I don't think anyone's ever said that the show since Glenshaw took over is the best it's ever been, but it's a major improvement on 2016 to 2021. Fair enough. Someone says 2015 was awful too. Ditto for 2011 to 2013. We only had 1 year of unanimously decent quality last decade after 2010, and that was 2014. Someone says, absolutely agree that it's a massive improvement on where it had been prior to 2021. I think the past few years have helped that they brought in some fantastic actors for some fantastic roles and have slowly whittled down the cast in numbers, which I can see continuing this year with a few more characters that aren't overly used to have a great effect heading out. The storylines have gotten a lot better also. However, I'm not personally that enthralled by the last few weeks of episodes of stories. Really feel a drop when certain actors or characters run a short breaks in filming. I will say, at this current point in time, obviously, I don't think the interest... I don't think anybody's as interested as we were at Christmas, but it's just a simple case of how watching watching any soap year round goes. Like, I will say throughout last year, like most weeks were like explosive and properly built up to, and I do feel like this year has been a bit more lax on some of the more explosive moments. I do feel like it doesn't feel like it has as much energy as it had previously had in the previous year. But that's the simple case of watching it after Christmas, you know? You get to Christmas, everything's electric, everything's at a fucking high. But then you've obviously got to come down. You know, you got to come down. We got to start building again. And that's obviously not going to be the most fun part of it. But like I said, we're ramping up towards spring. We're continuing. I am still thinking it's in a pretty good space. Like, every soap has its dry season. And that's perfectly fine, because you can't be given fucking absolute gangbusters each fucking year and each week. Because, like I said, then you just get tired of it. But yeah, someone says 2023 was brilliant, great storylines and character interaction. Bringing back Cindy was a stroke of genius. It's taken a dive again since Christmas, and I'm struggling to be engaged with it again. Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, it's always the case after Christmas. It's always rough. Like, the surprise was my brother went, mate, I'm still watching. I thought I was going to be done after 2 weeks of Christmas, you know? So it's surprising us all.
Can't get them off for Christmas 2024.
No. I think it's better than what it's been in recent years. I'm starting to think it's dippy again, but to be fair, I think that's pretty fair and normal. Been watching classic EastEnders, and it hasn't been one long, amazing, entertaining ride. They've had their dips and dry seasons too. Exactly, and I think it's what we have to expect. It may be bad now, but obviously if you didn't enjoy the fucking Christmas twist, you're probably not going to be enjoying the show currently, and that's fine. We all have our take. And yeah, I think it's just I do think the show is great at the minute, and I do think that it will continue to be great. But, you know, it is a down period now, but we're ramping back up into spring now. We're heading towards summer, and Chris Glenshaw doesn't let shit lie that, like, soon enough we will have all the characters who have been expected to leave will be gone, and then we'll fully be in, like, the new, like, stage of the show. So, like, you know, the storylines we don't want to see will be, like, done, and then we can fully get into all of the show without the characters like the Bens, like the Whitneys, who need to be, you know, out of the show. I do think it's great, and I really strongly hope that everybody watching at least somewhat believes in us and somewhat agrees that, yeah, sure, the show is in a pretty decent place. But obviously, you're perfectly fine to not to. Like, we all have our takes. We all have what we prefer in our EastEnders. Some people enjoy the crime. Some people enjoy the fucking family drama. I am a fan of all of the above. But yeah, tell us what you think in the comment section down below. We've been watching Walford. We have a Discord if you want to join that and join in on the conversation. Link in the description. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe. And finally, thank you for watching. Make sure to join us in the next one. See you then. Bye-bye.